how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'ma do my own thing.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is the follow-up to the critically acclaimed animated movie Into the Spider-Verse, which also happens to be one of my favorite movies, so safe to say I was very hyped for this. The sequel once again follows Miles Morales as the lead character amongst a plethora of other Spider people. And in classic Spider-Man fashion, he's trying to balance the craziness of his own life and goals with his newfound Spidey duties. As if that wasn't already enough to deal with, he meets a very large group of Spider people who are all trying to maintain the multiverse from collapsing, led by Miguel O'Hara, so yeah, there's a lot going on in this film. Now, the one thing that no one can really deny about the first film is how great of an impact the animation had on the industry. It was something that was revolutionary with how that movie was able to pull off such an art style and animation, and somehow this movie was able to up that ante even more in just about every single way. Like, I am truly amazed at how many characters are in this movie and how many of them appear on screen at the same time. And combine that with the fact that many of them are in completely unique art styles from one another, and you get something that is both gorgeous and technically impressive. Like, this movie is truly breathtaking in every visual sense of the word. It'll be winning a lot of awards for animation for sure. But behind all the incredible work that the animators have pulled off here, there's a truly touching yet riveting story about family and those that we hold dearest in our lives. So much of the movie's focus is on Miles, but he also shares a big portion of that spotlight with Gwen. In fact, the movie starts out with its entire focus being on her going through her backstory from the comics, all the way to the point where she's currently at after the events of the first movie. And it's this level of focus on Gwen that I feel like brings so much more to its characters than I originally thought it would. The dynamic that she has with her dad is unique but familiar to the dynamic that each Spider person has with someone in their own life. They all have that one person in their life, and the film does such a great job on commenting on that very thing here. Plus, as someone who enjoyed reading her comics when they came out, I loved how the movie used the same art style from her comics in the world that she belonged to in this. It was a great way of once again differentiating between worlds, and the very painterly art style was just so engrossing here. I loved it. The other thing that completely absorbed me within this movie was the moral conflict that Miles faces with Miguel. They touch upon the whole sacrifice one person for the greater good type thing that we've seen before, but in this instance it was done with so much more depth and scale than I've ever seen in a movie before. These characters have all faced moments in their lives where they've lost someone very close to them. And this moral dilemma that Miles faces with Miguel is such an interesting one because you can really see both sides to it and just how much it means to each of them. That emotional depth is really felt here, and there are some very serious moments throughout the film that are always balanced out by the levity of humor that it also has. Which I can safely say, this is easily the most I've ever laughed watching any Spider-Man film ever, and I've laughed at a lot of them in the past. This one takes the cake though. Like, it seriously has jokes. My stomach was sore from how hard I was laughing, honestly. And while a big part of that is due to the writing of Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, I have to give big props to Shameik Moore as Miles, Haley Steinfeld as Gwen, and even Jason Schwartzman as the Spot. And yes, the film does something so incredible as to make the Spot a compelling villain, which is something I never thought I would say ever as a Spider-Man fan. Lastly, this movie has so many big twists and turns towards the end of it, and without giving any spoilers away, I don't even feel like it even needed it. Honestly, the only thing that I didn't like about this movie is the fact that we have to wait an entire other year for the next one after this one ended in a to be continued. Which honestly just goes to show how much I love this movie, but I wasn't the only one because everybody in my theater was basically shouting no when they saw to be continued pop up at the end of the movie. But honestly, the only thing that I think this movie could have had that it didn't was that big song like Sunflower was for the first film. Something about that song really popped with that movie, and it didn't quite feel like they had that here, which I know is a small nitpick. But overall, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse does what very few films can only imagine to ever do. It captures an audience not only with their eyes through incredible visuals, but also with their hearts and minds through an insanely well-crafted story that I could watch on repeat over and over again. Which is why I'm going to give Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse the highest rating I've ever given on my channel, movie, video game, or otherwise. A 9.8 out of 10. This is an incredible movie. A movie like this is honestly so hard to give a score for because it was so clearly made to be watched in two parts. But I only feel like the score for this movie has more of a chance to go up than down once part 2 is released. For me, it's easily up there with Into the Spider-Verse, and it found ways to go deeper into family dynamics even more than any other Spider-Man film, which elevates it above the rest in my opinion. Like, if this movie doesn't end up winning Animated Film of the Year, I will be very, very surprised because this is one movie to remember. But I'm curious to know if you've seen Across the Spider-Verse, and if you have, what did you think about it, and let me know in the comments down below. And if you really like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this on movies, video games, and anime. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. But what actually starts as a very standard shonen turns into something that was a lot more thought-provoking than I initially thought it would be. And this is easily my favorite part of the show, the philosophical question that it asks to the characters and the viewers of the show. And a lot of that is centered around the human condition and what truly motivates each of us. What might motivate one person might seem lacking or trite compared to someone else, and Denji's motivations certainly start out that way.